I was going to make a video about the flip side of my last video, which was how I decided to stay in dance and why. And I may still finish it and put it up. But I was explaining a particular part of the reasons I left or downgraded my participation. And I started getting really emotional, and I realized that, you know, I alluded to some of it, but I didn't really talk about it. And as much as I want to go more in a positive direction, and I do want to get there, I think it's important for me to talk a little bit about where things started going wrong for me in the community. I've been leading for as long as I've been following, but I just prefer following, and I always have. And it's funny that that only became an issue after I transitioned. I started having some very specific challenges that have made it really hard for me to stay. The scenes aren't great about LGBT issues broadly. Even the ones that are better about it are also not great about it, unless you fit a certain archetype, which I do not. So there are very few trans men in the scene. And depending on which scene you look at, there are very few trans people or LGBT people as well. Of the gays that are here, I am not represented by a lot of the representation of what being a part of the queer gay community looks like. Partly also because I'm black, and our relationship and understanding of what black queerness looks like is different, as well as what black masculinity that is queer looks like is different. Like, we don't. I'm a minority of a minority of a minority of a minority of a minority, and I accept this. That's fine. I don't expect people to understand everything about my experience. I don't expect to feel represented. I don't expect to see myself in, frankly, any space that I'm in, and I can accept that. But that doesn't mean it's not been hard, and it doesn't mean it's not been uncomfortable. Because for me, my transition was really simple. All I did was change how I look. It's everyone else that's having such a hard time with it, which I don't understand. I did not change. I'm still interested in the same things I was interested in. I still I present differently in terms of, like, I'm no longer trying to embody, I'm no longer being a bad actor. Um, but otherwise, I have not changed. My way of being has not changed, and yet there is something that, but everybody's reacting so differently to me. Even as a singular follow and dealing with singular follow issues, I always felt like people acknowledged me as a follow, and acknowledged my skill as a follow, and acknowledged that I had the additional skill of knowing how to lead. But I'm struggling, and have struggled in the scene the whole time about this. Y'all are the people I spent most of my adult life with. So many people know me, have spent time with me, have interacted with me, and when I transitioned, you changed. Suddenly, it doesn't feel like there's a space for me anymore. Even the little alcove I'd carved out doesn't exist. Where queerness is more forward, I stand out because my queerness, my transness, isn't viewed through the same lens as everyone else's. I don't fit the archetype that people expect it to look like. So people assume I'm straight, or or they assume I'm a lead. They get weirded out by my varying levels of comfort with femininity and masculinity. They expect me to act a certain way, to be a certain way that I'm not and never was. On the flip side, where I feel like there's this interesting thing that happens where people that don't know me treat me like an average black guy, a sexual object to be used and discarded for your pleasure. And yet, those who do know me struggle to gender me correctly. Even though the rest of the world has moved on. Everybody else gets it, but y'all don't. It almost feels like there's this push and this pull between gendering me correctly and seeing me as a follow. Between seeing me as a man and seeing me as a good man, accepting that that happens. Accepting that one can be both masculine and want to do a feminine role seems to conflict for people. And I don't know why. That's not even talking about like the lack of same-sex couples in our scene. You know, it's way more acceptable for two women, two femmes, to dance together, both socially and performance-wise, than it is for two men. Why? In all scenes, people will avoid me because they're like, oh, they see a guy and they think, oh, that guy either wants to lead and I'm not a follow, so I can't dance with him. Or in the case of a lot of men or a lot of people I've seen leading a lot, when I go to ask them, they get this look on their face, so they just casually avoid my eye contact, look over my head. Because there's an expectation that because I'm a guy, my following is going to be subpar. Why do we think the following is subpar? Why do we think that so many guys who are interested in following, the following is subpar if we never let them follow at all? And then people get into this thing of they're like, oh, well, I'm afraid that they're going to injure me. And I'm like, you were equally as likely to be injured by any new student. No new student knows how to manage their own weight and momentum. That's just facts. If it's a size differential, then actually the thing that you're worried about is you, as the more established dancer in that style, needs to be okay with learning how to base and how to ground yourself down, how to manage that connection. That's a part of leading. And every lead has to go through this. Sometimes it's that my partner is so much smaller than me, and what do I do when I know that if I move too strongly, I can hurt them? And sometimes it's my partner is bigger than me, and how do I ask them to move somewhere in a timely way? If that's the case, it doesn't change because gender, but we act like it does. We act like smaller people can't lead big people. And partly that's because of fat phobia and size discrimination and all of these other things. There's a lot of complicated things to it, but it's just not true. We just need to be better as teachers and as community members about this. All of the scenes say they've done work around degendering dance, degendering the roles. And we haven't. We have. We've made progress. We've done things. And we've done things in ways that are degendering in a white way as well. but not in a black way. We don't recognize black queerness. We don't recognize black expressions. We don't allow for black people to be in ways that white people do not understand and accept that as not only valued but authentic. I haven't known what to do because I still love dancing and I still love following and I still love being myself. And this is my heritage. And this is a connection for me to somebody who's long gone, whom I love so deeply. And I'm not willing to give that up. So what's it got to do? I just be sitting there thinking, man, before this would have been easy. This wouldn't be so hard when my hair was long. These are some of the more progressive dance scenes. If I want to keep partner dancing, this is a thing I'm going to have to accept about my life. And I do want to keep partner dancing. But there's not a lot of support for guys like me. Whether they be trans or not. Being a male follow just currently isn't particularly supported. And it's no wonder that we only see it at the rarest of performances. And then we all share those videos around of the kids guys or the West Coast swing guys. And we go, look, 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 look. But I hope one day to see women leading men with some confidence. Men dancing with men in a way that's not performative. To, if we're going to celebrate female leads, we celebrate male follows equally as much. That classes are centered around being able to learn, truly learn the role. Because the more we devalue it, the harder it is for everybody to do it. And I still love being able to offer to people leading, particularly people that don't usually get to follow. But I wonder what it would be like if more of the scenes had that as an option. It was a bit easier for everybody who wanted to do it. So people like me actually got to follow more often.